What's up everybody, my name is Elliott and welcome to the show. If you're used to this program, you'll notice that I'm a little bit more dimly lit than normal, but don't call me a dimwit because my whole lighting situation here in the studio is about to undergo a major change. After all, my dad did go to school for like 10 years to learn the lighting hobby, so I'm just gonna let him go nuts in here and see what he can come up with. It should be an awesome shift. Also, we've got a lot of Volvo stuff to catch up on, so sounds like we got a lot to do today. Let's do it. All right, first things first though, we're gonna be working above here, so I don't wanna get any lighting debris on the Maserati here. So it's important to cover up things so that doesn't happen. Kind of hard to cover up with the dang spoiler back there. So now the Maserati is all covered up, including the spoiler, which makes it look absolutely hilarious under there. Now the car should be safe from any sort of falling ceiling debris and or gamma rays that occur whenever you're changing a lighting setup. But before we get to the whole lighting thing, let's go check up on the Volvo. How has it been? And where is it actually? Because it's not behind me and it's not in its alternate location over here. And the Prius is right here. So where is it? It's outside. Yes, it's out front because I've been actually driving this car every day. Well, every day that it's not raining, of course. But seriously, I've been putting actual daily driver status mileage on this thing, and it's been great. But that doesn't exactly give you the whole picture. So for that, I think we need to get it out on the road, and I can give you a more accurate status of how the Volvo's been. Here, let's go through its warning lights. SRS airbag, service urgent. Anti-skid service required. Time for regular service. Chassis setting service required. And that's it. So that's just kind of the daily status you got to scroll through on this car. But beyond that, let's get it out on the road. All right, out on the road in the now daily driver status Volvo V70R Spaceball. One thing I got to mention is that I'm really proud of this air conditioner. It works really, really well, especially when you consider this car was just abandoned for 3 years and then restarted, and the air conditioner worked without a fault. That means this thing's got like a crazy good seal in it. So props to Volvo for your maintenance-free air conditioning. That's a pretty big deal, especially when it's over 100 degrees outside. But aside from the air conditioner working really well, how else is the car? Well, it seems to be doing really, really well. It feels like it's got all of its power, the cruise control works, the seats work and are comfortable, and it holds my daughter's car seat very, very well. I've been taking her to school in it and all around in it. It's just been a great car. The problems are the electronic warnings that I get every time I start the car up, which means none of those systems work. And at first I thought sending the CEM off was going to remedy some of those, that there was some sort of electrical issue that was causing all of that. But now that the CEM is back and is working flawlessly, I realized none of those things have anything to do with the CEM. But it does mean that this car can now communicate with the computer that I have, and it should be able to tell me what's wrong with it. But aside from that, the other major repair that I did to this car was to the PCV system. Now that was a major amount of work because this thing was smoking like a freight train every time you let off a boost. So we did the whole job, including waiting for a hose that broke that wasn't included with the kit. It took a long time, it was a big pain in the butt, but I did it. And afterwards, well, it still smokes. That's very frustrating after that amount of work. So this can mean one of two things. One, the PCV job just didn't take. There's still something clogged in that whole system causing it to still smoke. Or two, the turbo seals are bad. And that's really bad because the only way to remedy that is a complete turbo rebuild or a complete turbo replacement, neither of which are easy or cheap. So, although this thing has been a great daily driver here lately, there's still quite a bit going on with it, both the things that it's reporting and the things that it's smoking out of the back. Now, regardless of which of those two issues is causing it to smoke like this, I do know that this car is using an astronomical amount of oil. It gave me the, hey, you're low on oil and you need to add some soon, idiot, message in the little information screen here after just 197 miles of driving after an oil change. Now, that is a lot of oil consumption and definitely cause for concern. So knowing that it's using a colossal amount of oil means we need a course of action here, and I say it's as follows. One, we get this thing back to the shop. Two, we perform the glove test, which I've neglected to do so far because I almost didn't want to know. It was better just thinking that it worked, but knowing how much it's smoking, well, who knows. Three, we can hook this thing up to my ViDA dice unit, because now that the CEM is working, the car should be able to self-diagnose to a degree and at least point me in the direction of which modules are malfunctioning here. Let's just head back to the shop and see what we can find out. And all right, we are back at the shop. Not in the usual space because, again, we're gonna be doing some lighting changes over there. But let me pop the hood here so we can get this thing cooling off so we can do a glove test. Whew. I really do think part of the reason the hood paint is scorched on this thing is because this gets so hot and this hood's aluminum. But let's see how hot it is. Of course, everybody has one of these thermal guns in their back pocket. I do too, so let's check the temps on this thing. So the tube coming right off the turbo, 206, 205. Probably a little hot to do the glove test, so I'll let this air itself out, and we can do an update on the lighting situation and why we're changing it in the first place. So one of the little known facts about my lighting situation is that everything took place on these stands. They've got DMX controlled lights. They're very, very cool. And they were all lined up right here in the way of where I take cars in and out of. They were just kind of going across, and they were a big pain because you had to move them, and they're pretty delicate but also heavy at the same time, and it was kind of a big pain. So often what I would end up doing is driving cars this zigzag way around these shelves, so that way I didn't have to disturb any of these lights that were kind of a pain to move. So my dad decided it was time to do something about it, especially now that I'm bringing more and more cars in and out of here more quickly and more often. It's time to get these stands off of the floor and do something in the sky. So let's hit the skyjacker and get some lights up. All right, and there you have it. Look at it. It's up in the sky in all of its glory. This big truss that goes all the way across here and is suspended by chains in those I-beams up there. This is going to make things a lot easier because, as you can see, I can actually drive a car in and out of here now rather than it being a game of thread the needle. This is going to make all of the difference in the world. Now we just have to wire them all up, but we're in the process of doing that as we speak. So anyway, that's the update on the lighting situation. It should be a lot brighter in here, hopefully like my future, and we'll be able to get cars in and out of here a lot easier too. But now back to your regularly scheduled Volvo programming. And speaking of programming, I've got the computer here, and look, it even has the background of what my car could look like with paint. One of the things that I noticed when I first started using this thing was that I didn't know the password to the program. It says this machine is registered as Volvo. So I'm like, okay, cool, Volvo. It loads, and you're like, okay, cool. Oh, okay, no, unknown error, please contact your local help desk. And if you're not familiar, I don't have a help desk, and I don't think regular people are supposed to be using this software, so I thought I was just kind of SOL on this whole computer program thing. Then I got a message that was very helpful from the guy who gave me this computer. After many, many attempts of different versions of Volvo, password, whatever, the username turns out to just be 2. Yep, the number 2. Hit login, and wow, you're in. So that silly little hurdle was keeping me from using a lot of the functions on this computer. But the other hurdle was the CEM not working on this car. But now it does. So now these two can meet via a cable. So let's hook them up and see what's going on in there. Oh, but first, we got to do the glove test. I almost forgot about that. Let's hook that up. All right, hopefully not too hot, but probably a little hot. This is the brilliance of running the car really hard before then needing to do a glove test. So if you ever need to bring your car into a mechanic, just drive it really, really hard so it's nice and hot for them. They love it. Okay, we're good to go? Here we go. How is it looking? Oh, it's sucking in. Oh my gosh, well previously it just blew right off. Oh no, oh no. So this is a great sign. All right, well, I'm gonna cut it off because it's probably gonna melt on there now. Okay, well, awesome. So the PCV job was successful, but also not awesome because this means my turbo is almost certainly bad. I guess one little victory and one swift kick in the beanbags. Anyway, let's hook the computer up to the Volvo and then see what it thinks is electrically wrong with it, since we already know what's mechanically wrong with it. So program's already open here. Just need to hook up our fancy schmancy dice unit here. Okay, that made this start to blink, which is good. Read vehicle. Oh, look at that. It even has a picture of it with the correct wheels. But we need to select the transmission, so M66 all-wheel drive, and the body style, which obviously is wagon, but it's sunroof or without sunroof. Oh, look, communication with CEM. This is what it couldn't do before. Communication with DIM, BCM, a lot of three-letter acronyms here. Oh, this is so exciting. It never used to get this far. Well, I mean, I couldn't even really get into the program, but none of the other programs on the computer would work either. But now that the CEM is happy, this is happy. So let's hope that the rest of the car is happy. Now we've got a chart of the car that shows the status of everything, and the BCM is very unhappy. That's your brake control module. Yaw rate sensor faulty signal. Now that's frustrating because I just put a new one of those in. Steering wheel, so SAS is steering angle sensor, I believe. So a lot of those are what it's mad about, and that is what's going to cause the anti-spin stuff. So yeah, so it says the status. The brake control module is broken. Man, this gives you a lot of info. So it's saying that this BCM is unhappy, condition, unhappy, substituted value, traction control is blocked, stability control is blocked, and active yaw control is blocked. So my yaw sensor might not actually be bad. It's this brake control module that's mad, causing it to just block communication from the yaw sensor. Now that is interesting. This is just a reprogramming thing, which would be great. I would much rather reprogram than replace every day of the week. It's all of this steering wheel angle sensor stuff that's bad. Brings it up. So what this means is that the steering wheel angle sensor is in here, because it even shows a stock. Likely not cheap or easy to replace. So let's read more about what the computer thinks it is. And again, traction control is blocked, stability control is blocked, and active yaw control is blocked. So we have two things stopping all of my warning messages. Essentially, this thing is mad about the brake control module and the steering wheel angle sensor module. So it could be a reprogramming of the brake control module that will help figure out the steering angle sensor and then cause all of my other stuff to be happy. But there's still one other thing that's happened since we've been working on it, and that's that airbag light. And I would love to be able to clear that here. So what I might try to do is clear everything and see what happens. So let's see if the software can at least manage that. Start the engine and rev it above 1500 RPMs, turn the ignition off, start the engine again, and let it idle for approximately 20 seconds.
Above.
Yeah, leave it at that. Like, so just turn it off. Yep. And then start it again, and we got to count to 20 Mississippi. I'm not going to make you guys wait all 20 seconds. So we've done the 20 seconds. Now it says to select OK. Now what? Now I hit read all again. If this is any sign, pretty much everything came back. SRS airbag service urgent. Driver door open. Anti-skid service required. Time for regular service. Yeah. Okay. Well, so pretty much everything's back. All right, shut her down. What have we learned here? I guess two things. One, PCV job was successful, and that means the turbo's bad. But two, now that I can actually communicate with the car, I've narrowed down all of my electrical gremlins to a few things. One, the brake control module either needing to be reprogrammed or needing a new unit, and the steering wheel angle sensor. Now, as far as the airbag light went, I think it's because part of that passenger seat is still unplugged from when we were messing around with it all of those weeks ago over there. So once I ordered a new board for that, that should solve that airbag light. So now I got to get on the phone with the folks from Zemedex and see what they say about the brake control module, because I think that might be the key to everything. And if we can reprogram it using this computer, whew, that would be a relief. Minus the fact that I still need to send the turbo off, which is just eating at me right now. Not going to stop driving it though, because that's how you test a car. Oh, I almost forgot though, now that everything's working, these windshield wipers should work. So let me close the hood so you can see this. Oh, look, they're going. Yeah. Which means this car gets new wiper blades and arms. Yeah, pretty much everything. But that's good. It means now, once I get those, I can drive this thing in the rain. So this has been a successful day, minus the turbo portion of it. The computer can read it, the wipers work, good news. Again, minus the turbo part. Well, this has been a tremendously productive day. We got an overhead truss hung, so now I can have lighting from above rather than trying to drive cars through a sea of light stands and wires. And I was also able to determine what else is still going on with the Volvo. We performed the glove test, which means the PCV job took, and that's great. But the bad news about that is it means the turbo is most likely bad, and that's really bad. That's going to be a pretty expensive and pain job to do. But we were also able to determine that the CEM is completely working because my ViDA and DICE computer successfully communicated with the car, which also means I was able to determine what else is going on with it electrically. Most importantly, the brake control module and steering angle sensor are the cause of a lot of this car's woes. So I'll be remedying those the best I can in upcoming episodes. What's next, you might ask? Well, I'm actually thinking about taking the Volvo as it sits, bad turbo and all, to the next autocross race because, well, it's kind of in a beater status. It's a good time to shake the car down and see what else is going on with it, and it could be a lot of fun. So be on the lookout for that. But that's probably gonna do it for this episode. Be sure to follow me on Instagram. I try to post little previews of upcoming episodes there. Like me on Facebook, join my Facebook group. It's a great place to share memes, and I'm almost always in there interacting in the comments. And other than that, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe on this video. It greatly helps my YouTube performance. And I will see you guys on the next video.